Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show's about to begin. Nathan, let's put on another show.
Round two.
Round
ding,
two.
Ding,
Ding,
ding.
ding. We're back with Nathan Kearney for his second. Are you taking the piss? Right, actually, can I just say, it's an inside joke. It's an inside joke because if any of you have watched the first episode with Nathan, you will never have noticed how painful that episode was because he had a terrible cough that day. And literally, my editors wanted to kill me because every other sentence you were coughing.
It's a recruiter's nightmare. Do you know what I'll blame it on? I'll blame it on building a recruitment business from scratch with 100 phone calls every day.
No.
There's only so much the box can take.
No, but why were you ill? You were ill. You had the cough because something to do with your son.
Do you know what? We should blame it all on my 2-year-old son who has a new flu every 2 or 3 weeks.
So you brought that into the studio. He was coughing every other sentence. It took about 2 hours to shoot. But if you watch the episode, you will see that it was flawless. But you can see by the end of it, we were both rather exhausted.
Do you know what I'm going to say is well done to the editors.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because you'd never know. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Saad.
Wonderful
my team.
podcast, though.
And it must have been so wonderful for business that you decided to come back for a round two.
I didn't realize how well connected this show is.
Everyone's watching.
Yeah, and you don't know that they're watching. It's as a business, we've had multiple candidates come into the mix and they've actually mentioned certain topics of conversation that we've had. Majority of our clients watch this show religiously. So,
but they don't follow me. They're not subscribed. Like I would never know. But and it's interesting you say that because I have had other people like, oh, such and such reached out to me. I'm like, they're watchers of the show. That's fantastic. Oh, I love it. I'm so happy.
All I'm going to say to that is like and subscribe, please.
Please, just so I know who's watching. It'd be nice. It's nice to know who's watching.
Honestly, for us as a business, we've been open for 14 months. We originally sat down and
what was that, 6 months ago?
6 months ago. So we'd been open 6 to 8 months. We were still a baby. And at the time we were in a shoebox business center and we were really trying to observe the masses and do the opposite.
Oh, I like that one.
It's wonderful. James Carn, that's a quote from him. And if you fast forward 8 months now, we are now in the beehive of real estate. And what we've essentially learned is for you to grow.
I thought you were going to cough again.
No. For us to go through such a transitional phase and really try and grow a wonderful little recruitment business and be amazing at what we do, we have to be connected to absolutely everyone. This show, this podcast, just to go back to that, is connected to absolutely everyone. And what I would say is people in the industry want to hear how they can improve. They want to hear what they can be doing differently. For recruiters, that's wonderful because it means that there's something we can change. But you honestly, on this show, have probably given the answer to many questions that people have had, sat in their office, maybe by themselves, staring at their desk and laptop with a manager who maybe takes about 2 hours to get back to them. But then they've seen someone give some value-add content on the show. Yeah. You should charge to watch this. I'm joking.
The only fans of the real estate industry. I said that, not you. Oh, that's brought a tear to my eye. That's so sweet. Yeah, no. I mean, that was the original purpose of the show. And one important part of that, of the real estate industry, it's the careers, is recruitment, is the moving roles, because that happens a lot. Now we're coming out of the most successful year in Dubai real estate. Records have been smashed. Some crazy commissions have been earned this year. Why would anyone dream of leaving a role?
Really simple. The reason people watch your show, the reason why they're not having the record-breaking months or years when everyone else is because the value isn't there. The value-add content, the training, the support, it's not there. Right. Anyone can be given the best lead in the world. Anyone should be able to close any lead. It just depends where they want to go. Every horse has its stable.
Environment.
The one underlying tone and answer to that even to why this show is a show, is...
And not a podcast. That I had to remind you of earlier, yeah.
is essentially to help people. That's it. So the reason we are busy is because people aren't being helped in the way they need to.
Right.
The reason why people are leaving companies because they don't know what they don't know. They need to do something different.
And so the natural thought is that, okay, the real estate market has been booming this year. Has that translated into a booming market for recruiters? How has the recruitment market been for you?
We are so busy that we've had to take an extremely large office in one of the heavyweight commercial buildings in Dubai, where the majority of all the top firms are.
Which building? Not Marina Plaza.
We're in iRise.
iRise, okay, TCOM, yeah.
For us, we realized that we had a few problems when we opened the business. We were meeting candidates in coffee shops. I was also catching other recruiters for companies having interviews in these coffee shops.
Now that's a real challenge in what you do, because it is like sleeping with the enemy, isn't it?
It is. The confidentiality in this industry is pretty much non-existent, which is why when we said, how are we going to grow the business and build the business and make it incredibly unique, we had to create USPs in the smallest of ways. For example, the reason we have to meet candidates in our office is because you don't know who's catching you going into a coffee shop. I walked in, and here's a few bomb drops, obviously name no names. I walked into so many senior heavyweight interviews in secret locations that people never thought that people would be going into.
Not so secret.
And I've caught them. And it's a bomb drop moment. So we've had to, as we've grown.
At least reveal what those locations were.
No.
Just a couple of secret
let's
locations.
Use them now. That's why. It's an easy introduction. So we've had to take the new office because of how busy the market is. We've had to take the new office because of how little confidentiality there is around people finding a new job. We spoke last time, a few things. How many people have been caught interviewing by someone who knows someone?
Yeah.
And it gets around like wildfire. Everyone knows very quickly if you're looking for a new role. You walk into one office, people hear about that. So for us, the confidentiality element of the business has essentially fueled creating a hub or an ecosystem for finding people that essentially they're home to their new career, but in a place that they can trust. It's independent, it's impartial. You come and have a coffee with us. You don't have to look over your back. And we also give you the sound value-added advice that probably a lot of internal recruiters and your current manager probably can't give because of how well trained the guys are. For example, the guys can look at your Property Finder listings within 15 seconds on a stopwatch. They can tell you what's good, bad, ugly with your listings. Now, if you're not asking how to improve the quality of your listings to your own manager and getting the right answer, you're in the wrong place.
So what's the right way of recruiting and the wrong way of recruiting then?
There's two types of candidate. You have active and you have passive. Active is knocking on the door saying, oh, I'm looking for a job, I can move immediately. Now, there's normally a reason for that. Not saying every active candidate is bad, but there's normally a reason why they're immediately available. Now, the passive candidates are the best candidates. These are the people where they will move at some point, but they're harder to turn the heads of. Now, the only way that you engage a passive candidate isn't by selling. The best recruiters listen, add value, and then sell. The worst recruiters will go onto LinkedIn. I hope all is well. Here's an amazing job that I've got. That's not the way to recruit. You're selling. You need to listen to what is good, listen to what is bad, and build the next steps of the future career around that. So to summarize, what I'd say is you need to really understand the agent, the director, the CEO. Every horse has its stable. The top MDs in the city have their price. Everyone does. It might not be their price. It might be the team. Everyone has something that they will leave for. The best recruiters will listen, hear what that is, and then advise and help. And them candidates don't apply to your LinkedIn job ads.
Right.
I encourage every single person in the city who's recruiting to go onto LinkedIn, create a job ad, write it as well as you can write it, and then tell me the top 10 candidates that you've had on the back of that.
They'll have no experience.
There
Which
won't
could
be.
also be useful, you know.
Every horse-
You've got three types of candidates, maybe more. You've got the rookie, never done it before, just wanted to get into real estate. You've got someone who's been doing it for about a year, two, and then you've got the heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Let's work backwards, because I think the heavy hitters don't want to speak to internal recruiter. They don't want to be approached by external recruiter. They want the CEO direct to contact them. Do you think?
Disagree.
Okay. Why?
Because if you look in the senior space, I did a post on LinkedIn 2 days ago saying the senior space is incredibly busy. Your budget shouldn't be tightening like it is in the UK. The belt should be loosened because the market is busy. Every candidate, doesn't matter what stage they are in their career, or if it's a level 1, 2, or 3 candidate, they're looking for something. For example, your sellers will sell if it's the right buyer. You just have to work out exactly what it is. So them senior people that you mentioned, they will have different wants and needs. Go back to the typical Maslow hierarchy of needs, old school, university style. Everyone has that. I've broken it down. We've discussed before 4 verticals: lifestyle, career, money, and culture. They're the 4 verticals that it doesn't matter whether you're happy or unhappy. Everything that you say is categorized into them 4 things. And all it takes is for someone to have a conversation, listen to what they're looking for, listen to what they're not getting, and match it. This is an incredibly easy industry to work in if people trust you, if you can listen. The worst headhunters, really simply, don't spend the time. You honestly have to build such a relationship that people will trust you to tell you the tiny things that they don't like. And they're very personal things. It's not always just leads, a premium. Years ago, you give a premium out, someone would leave whatever company they're at, doesn't matter. They will come and join you. One premium used to go between a team of 20. Now it's not like
Okay,
that.
so you go beyond calling yourself a recruitment consultancy. You're a recruitment and retention consultancy. What's the recent advice you've been giving either startups or established real estate brokerage companies?
It's the same answer as what is written in my office. At the heart of every business is people. Whether it's the leaders, whether it's the people at the bottom, the first person that you see when you walk through the door. The one thing to make or break the business is its people. If the people aren't aligned, it's doomed to fail. My curveball to this advice, and people don't normally believe me when I say this, is you can have the engine of a Ferrari in a Renault and it not work. It's the same with real estate. It's a hard analogy to get.
So you could have the top bosses
in a bad system with a bad model and it doesn't work. You can have the best model but the worst leader and it doesn't work. So you have to
combination.
You have to marry up the model and you have to marry up the leader, the board, the management team. The one thing that I advise to every single company that we work with is our people are leaving because of the management. Are people leaving because people don't want to join the team because of who's at the top? Ultimately, if you look at every wonderful company in the city, there's normally one top dog at the very top whose vision, mission, strategy, absolutely everything comes from. So to summarize that, if you hire someone who will be the Pied Piper for the business, that's how you grow it. That's how you retain the staff. But even if you give 150% commission, which of course doesn't exist, in a business with the most premiums, the best leads, the nicest office, the best working style, but they don't want to generate revenue for the business because of who's at the top of the business. It's going to fail. So self-reflect, reverse engineer the business and have a look at who you are, what your leadership style is like. And that's probably the answer to how you grow, retain, and essentially scale your business.
So just me being nosy, and maybe it's the same as every year, but what is the number one reason why brokers are leaving brokerages this year?
I think leadership is the number one answer.
Their bosses.
Yes. You have such wonderful leaders in the city. A lot of them have sat on this same show. Now, that's the reason why they essentially joined the business. They're also being headhunted by a lot of other wonderful leaders in the city. So if the training, the advice, the support mechanism just isn't there, they can go and get it elsewhere. Yeah. In all honesty, the grass is greener on the other side, even though there isn't any grass in Dubai. But there's so many wonderful companies. A lot of companies are essentially observing the masses and doing the opposite, exactly what we do at Executive Search. And that's how people are turning heads. I've been doing this a long time. So long ago that I remember when a lot of the big companies took their first office. Now, they essentially started as brokerages by brokers. They wanted to do it purely for the people. Now, if you fast forward 5-6 years, a lot of these companies have become stagnant and other companies are opening up, offering something new. Whether
Still
that's
brokers by brokers, though. Brokerages by brokers.
But if you look at the things they're doing internally, they're creating something which you can't replicate and duplicate, which is really hard.
I haven't seen a broker contract for a long time, but non-competes, is that still a big feature in?
It's a feature, but it's not happening. Show me a non-compete. Show me a non-compete that actually stood up in court recently. As much as we hate to hear it, it's your basic human right. People are allowed to go and practice their trade elsewhere. If they don't want to do it with you, you can't stop them. Non-solicitation is a completely different story. You're stealing business, you're stealing staff.
Yeah.
That's one thing. But the non-compete.
Do you know if any have actually gone to court?
None.
Okay.
If you can prove it, I'm happy to be proven wrong.
Leave it in the comments if anyone has. But I get it for like top management, maybe a gardening leave or, some kind of, what's that period called where you're not supposed to?
Gardening leave.
It is gardening leave.
Yeah.
But
you see extended garden leaves, you see absolutely everything like that. And that's absolutely fair. However, if I'm an agent and I've been at the company for a year, the non-compete to stop you working for a year or two just simply doesn't exist. So my advice is, if any agent out there is worried about leaving a company because they have a non-compete, please just rip it up. It doesn't exist. If it did exist, really simply, people would not be moving companies, period.
Okay, I need to fact check this before we publish it. Or send it to the lawyers.
Send it to the lawyers.
Or disclaimer, I don't know if that's true or not, but if you're saying it,
send it to the lawyers, just so you know. Because remember, my business is built on this. I've had to send this to multiple lawyers just because I didn't believe anyone.
Yeah.
Because all it is a scare tactic to stop people from leaving.
Or is it to facilitate the deduction of training costs or this and that?
That's a different story. Specifically non-competes. You're allowed to go and work. Flip it. If I'm a plasterer, are you telling me I can't go and be a plasterer for a year? It's the same thing.
Now we're going to move on to, you're an author now, aren't you? You're publishing a quarterly report.
Written with a quill.
The brokerage...
Sorry, I'm really sorry. I keep interrupting you. Is it a quill?
Yes, it is a quill.
What's a quill?
The fountain pen. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Quill is the feather. The feather that you dip in is before the fountain pen, but it's the same sort of thing. We're losing our minds slowly but surely. But right.
It's better than last time, isn't it?
We're keeping all of this in, by the way, for flavour. Now, Nathan, you have just published your Q4 Brokerage Finder Report, all about the recruitment market, data, stats. Tell us about it.
So there is zero until now market reports benchmarking the recruitment industry, the hiring trends, what people are looking for, why people are leaving. Now, I essentially said I want to advise the market. I want to advise hiring managers, CEOs, MDs, HR directors on how to essentially streamline their hiring process, as well as how to recruit more efficiently. Now, the only way that we do that is based on accurate data. The accurate data comes from every single candidate who's come through the business doors. So we surveyed, and whenever I say we surveyed, I feel like I have to say our survey says.
Our survey said.
We surveyed around 450 agents and senior members such as sales directors, VPs,
Nice.
and MDs. To listen to what they were telling us about the market. And a lot of the things such as remote working, we thought was actually going to be at the top of the list that people wanted. Obviously, post-COVID, that the remote working styles was dragged through still. What we found is actually the opposite. People want to return to work. People don't want to be sat in their spare room, disengaged. They want the human connection. So, for example, if we look at office-based, remote working, and then a hybrid mixture model, people prefer the mixture where they have the flexibility to have the work-life balance, pick up the kids, have social commitments, maybe play football on a Tuesday, whatever it is, while still having the human engagement. But ultimately, they still have the ability to access the training and support that the business provides from being in the office. Elon Musk sent an email to his staff and said the best...
Get your asses back here.
He said the best products aren't launched by phoning it in. And I think the real estate industry is listening to that as well. So it's rare to find a company which is purely remote. I don't know of any that exist that do terrifically well. There are some wonderful hybrid companies, but at the moment, that really simply the real estate industry, based on our facts and findings, is telling us that people want the mixture of that.
And based on your facts and findings, what would you say is the most surprising trend or stat that's come out of the report?
So I thought, and I think a lot of people thought, that the main reason people move is for leads. It's not. It's for support.
Right.
That's it.
I just want to be loved.
I just want to know how to close more deals. That's it.
Okay. Training.
Exactly. You can lead a horse to water. You can't make it drink. You can give someone the best leads in the world, and they can't close them without the right advice and training. So the best companies in the city are the ones who are actually observing, analyzing, and improving their training and support systems.
Okay. And you also broke down the personality types of different real estate agents, which I found really interesting. So there's 4 personality types: dominant, steady, influential, and cautious. Can you just break them down for us?
Yep. We'll go the polar opposites. So the dominant personality is maybe someone who is extremely a typical extrovert. If you go DISC, the C, the cautious, conscientiousness, that's more of the reserved introverts. Now, ultimately, when you look at the mixture of personalities that you have in a business, the best businesses are the ones that are completely mixed. The ones where you have a certain culture are the ones where they understand that they need a mixture of different personalities and people, or they're fixed with one type of personality. So
to try and help people at home identify the different agents, like give me some bullet points under dominant. What does that person look like? What are they banking? What are they doing?
It doesn't matter what your personality type is. You have experienced agents in every vertical.
I can guess what influential is.
Yes.
That's the person that's got the big social media following.
It's not necessarily to do with that, because you can still have steady and cautious personalities with huge social media profiles and followings. It's to do with how you engage, how you listen, how you learn, how you act in certain situations. For example, if you go D, typically call you to have the conversation and sort out the problem. If you go C, they might WhatsApp you. C, and normally if you go generic job roles, you'll go a typical accountant personality. That's how they prefer to communicate. So for real estate agents, you have to firstly understand what your buyer is. I'm going off on a tangent, but you'll understand. If you understand how to communicate with your buyers, sellers, tenants, landlords based on their personality, you get a better outcome. Now, it's the same for your managers. If you're a different personality, all I need to do is understand how I communicate and motivate you versus other people, because everyone's unique. You might prefer me to train you in public. Some people might not like the criticism, even if it is positive criticism. They might prefer to be trained and have their weaknesses and reservations highlighted in private. So what I would say is, for us, the reason we've really had to focus on the personality profiling as part of our recruitment process is because that's how we get people to stay in new opportunities. Right. That's how we marry up the perfect personalities in the hiring process. If you understand people, and you don't get this on Zoom, by the way, I will go on record right now. Zoom interviews do not build relationships. You do not build a personality profile on Zoom. You wouldn't, I said this on the last podcast, you wouldn't get married. Sorry. You wouldn't get married to someone on a Zoom 1 or 2 dates, would you? Why would you give your whole career, add more ink to your CV based on one person that you've had a Zoom with? All you see is what they want to show you. That's it. And that's why you have to, for recruitment purposes, meet every single person face to face, understand them. Being in an environment like in our office, it's so relaxing. Even the interior design of it is to essentially have the candidate relax so you can build up a level of trust. Listen to what they want. Listen to what personalities they don't want to work with. We've all had a bad manager. In all honesty, the bad manager probably didn't understand you well enough to know how to motivate and get the best out of you. That's probably the underlying reason. So for us, the DISC profiling as part of the Brokerage Finder Market Report is to essentially tell people in the market that people of different personality types aren't being listened to. They're not being engaged. And because of that, they're leaving. So advice to hiring managers and companies: understand who's in your business and understand who can engage with different types of people in the interview process.
Well, who out of these four is making the most money? DISC.
They all are. That's the beauty of it. The best agents, doesn't matter who they are, they know how to communicate with the right people. 2 ears, 1 mouth. That's it. You listen and then you build a relationship and communicate.
All right. Well, if you were to say,
you want some juicy shit now, don't you? Huh? Unfortunately, I can't.
I'll get some.
We all know a quiet big biller.
Well, that's the question I want to ask you. If you decided to like pack it all in and cancel recruitment, I'm going to open up my own real estate brokerage, what would your dream team look like?
A complete mixture. You would have the phone basher. You would have the silent assassin who, even though you think they're being quiet and reserved, unfortunately, they're actually speaking to a lot of people. They're just not standing on the table shouting about it. The best businesses, and for me also building executive search, what I've tried to do is build a culture where we can motivate every single type of personality. Because ultimately, not every candidate, or in our world, real estate agent, is one type of personality. Just like your buyers, they're not all one type of personality. Just because the buyer isn't the same personality as you doesn't mean it's a bad buyer. It just means you don't understand them or you're not listening to them. That's it. So summary, recruitment, real estate, you have to be a chameleon.
Okay, so there have been what, like 10,000 licenses issued, broker licenses issued this year?
Yeah.
Is the market saturated with real estate agents?
If you look at the Master Plan 2040, build it and they will come. It's being built. People have to deliver that. People have to sell that. If we stop hiring real estate agents now, deep down, can we deliver and can we sell the property that's going to be handed over? No. We need more agents. People need to move.
Coming soon. Plenty more agents. They're building and it's coming.
There's plenty more agents in the sea.
So the answer is no. Okay. Now, an interesting statistic is that boutique agencies are preferred by 37% of brokers, which I would have thought it would be. I mean, that's like over a third. What do you think boutique firms are doing right that larger firms are not.
I think the boutique firms are understanding what their niche is, and that's being boutique. It's not hiring en masse. It's essentially looking at how to build a market share within the business, which is going to deliver the revenue and commission that an agent needs to create their dream life. Essentially, if you look at real estate businesses, it's a pyramid. I'm not saying pyramid scheme, but it's a pyramid. Now,
Explain.
The boutiques understand that people are leaving the larger companies so they have more of a slice of the pie. That's it. And they're sticking to their guns. They're having maybe 5 in one area and capping it. They're not hiring anymore. Even when they come knocking at the door, what they're doing is creating SAS hit squads as opposed to an army of idiots. I'm not saying all large corporate companies are that at all. But what I'm saying is, if you can build a select, exclusive, elite team who generate incredible revenues whilst being in a boutique business, it's scary because they're the ones that will take the market share from the bigger companies.
So crystal ball time, 2025, what's the real estate market looking like and how does that impact the recruitment market?
Yep. Offline market to continue rising. You've seen how busy the offline market is already. Now, because of that, we need more incredible offline agents, not just lead tourists, not just people who are going to join a company, go for an interview and say, all I want is leads. That is not what people want. Simple. On the secondary side, you really do have to understand that if you're not a niche in one type of area or with one type of buyer, if that's not your bread and butter, you will be eaten alive. If you're trying to be a jack of all trades, master of none, you get absolutely nowhere. People want to come to Dubai. People want to take your job. Someone right now will be sat. Someone right now will be sat in the UK or in your home country, dying to be sat in the seat that you're sat in. So if you're not delivering and you're not really listening to what people are saying and taking advantage of the wonderful opportunity that you have, in all honesty, the build it and they will come will take your job. So listen, learn, deliver.
Okay. And finally, what's next for executive search?
Well, firstly, Nathan needs a bloody nap. It's hard building a business. I'm absolutely knackered, to be fair. I've not had a day off since we opened.
Welcome to entrepreneur life.
I set this business up so that in a few years' time, we can look back on thousands of people making the move and as being a part of that. Our job is, in my eyes, the best job in the world because you're introducing people to the home of their new career. Now, if we look at what we focus on in our niche is the real estate industry. The goal is for every single person in the real estate industry to know that we're the people to essentially introduce them to the next step in their career. So for me, when I'm grey and old in 5 years, the wonderful world that I hope we live in is a world that when people look for improvement in their life, career, finances, they call executive search. And that's, for me, why I get out of bed in the morning, as well as to make my recruiters a life-changing amount of money.
Okay. And I just want to get from you 3 tips or top tips from Nathan Kearney. 1 for a broker, top tips for brokers, top tips for recruitment managers, and top tips for CEOs.
Brokers, the grass is greener. Hiring managers, listen to your interviews. Listen to what they like and what they don't like, and then sell. Don't try and put a square peg in a round hole. And MDs and CEOs, you are the Pied Piper. The business mission, vision, retention is ultimately down to you. If it isn't great, do fix it. Simple.
Well, thank you very much, Nathan, for joining me yet again. I wish you even more success for the next 6 months off the back of this show. And I'll see you soon.
See you in 3 months.
In 3 months, we're going to do this again. Well, actually, can we have like a quarterly update on what's going on in the recruitment? Who's moving and shaking? And I want some name drops next quarter. How about that?
Deal.
Thank you very much. Like, share, and subscribe.